Welcome to Korvet Aluminum Trawlers. I'm Rob Poirier. Today we're going to give you an exterior tour of this amazing vessel. As we tour the exterior of this boat today, you may hear us say how this boat can take you places and let you do things that other boats can't. And the deck layout and the configuration of the entire vessel really plays to that. Naturally, the first thing people look at when they see this boat is the aluminum hull. And yeah, the boat is a beast. I mean, in all fairness, we put the fenders down to protect the dock. But the next thing they tend to notice as soon as they come aboard is the fantastic stainless work on the boat. You know, the oversized handrail. The other thing too, that the stainless work is done so well that even the gates have no metal contact, and we don't even have a hinge on this gate. So standard on the 50 is this nice large swim platform. For obvious reasons, it's ideal for scuba diving, for gaining access to your tender, for all kinds of practical reasons. In certain floating dock situations, it's nice for getting on and off the boat. And I'd like to point out the hatch in the aft cabin is so large, you could even gain access to this platform from the aft cabin. These boats are semi-custom, so the owners have a lot of input. Different kind of ladder systems are available, but I think the location of this life raft is ideal. Anyone who's had to navigate the locks of Europe, or even all the locks you're going to encounter here on the Great Loop in North America, you recognize just how important the side decks of a vessel really are. We have 17.5 inches. We've got an over-engineered grab rail. The layout is just perfect for those kind of journeys. The Korvet trawler was really designed for the experienced boater. It's really designed for people who have bigger, more ambitious plans. So many of the things I'm pointing out are going to be really obvious to you as an experienced boater, but for the sake of making these videos, we're going to point these things out anyway. Here at the bow of the boat, you'll see that the anchor arrangement is a very no-nonsense setup. You will observe, though, that the anchor is off-center, and the reason for that is the boat has a wave piercer at the waterline. The windlass we use on these boats has a full manual backup, and in our configuration, I would call it our recommended configuration, we actually have this boat set up with twin anchors, with a full second anchor and a full second windlass. We can easily do that because the capacity of the anchor locker is enormous, and it drops directly down, so you'll never have to worry about any stacking. I think it's well understood that an aluminum vessel is certainly a stronger building material. But one of the real advantages is the fact that all the hardware, things like the cleats and the stanchion bases throughout the boat, are integral. They're part of the structure. They're not attached to the structure. Here on the foredeck there are 7 hatches, and there's one right above the helm station as well. What I'd like to point out is how nicely raised all these hatches are. The other thing that's really important is the hatches are cast. They're not bent frame, so there's no seam. So really the best hatches you could possibly put on a boat for this purpose. If you look at the foredeck, you'll notice that this area has a curve to it. And of course that's to shed water, whereas the side decks are nice and flat. This structure just forward of the windshield, again, is also designed to deflect water away. All windows on the Korvettes are a double glazed construction, so obviously perfect for cruising in high latitudes and the tropics. The other nice thing we do is our windshield wipers are perfectly synchronized. You'll notice that the entire decking on this boat is done in flexi-teak. It's not painted. Even this cabin superstructure is not painted. This is a vinyl coating. We can paint your boats. That is something the owner can request. But I think it's well understood that aluminum does not like paint. So eventually it's going to add maintenance to the boat. So with a vessel like this, you really have the opportunity of greatly reducing your maintenance by going with an unpainted boat. So our standard arch arrangement is designed to be collapsible. It can be retracted and deployed electronically, and with it down, the air draft of the boat is only 11 feet. The Korvet 50 is built by deepwater yachts. This vessel is designed to do ocean passage making. However, the real strength of this particular vessel is its ability to take you places and do things that other boats can't. And that really means being able to get under low bridges in North America and even lower bridges in Europe. So the Flybridge arrangement on this particular boat is fairly minimal. In fact, the owner of this boat decided to use it as a place to stow the tender. You'll see that he's got a Nick Jackson crane mounted right there, and there's no actual Flybridge arrangements up here whatsoever. The owners of this boat have been cruising on trawlers for well over 25 years, and their experience has taught them that locating a tender in a position like this is ideal for them, and a flybridge they virtually never used on their previous boats. So it's easy to understand how they came to this arrangement. This type of crane system makes this a really effortless process. However, if a flybridge is really important to you and you want a fully decked out, fully complete flybridge, the Korvet 54 is a boat that's designed for that purpose. So along with the aft gate leading down to the swim platform, the boat has two side boarding gates. The Korvet 50 is equipped with a stabilizing system for offshore travel that is called Magnus Master. It's a really interesting system, and we're going to go and do a detailed video on that subject alone. The boat is equipped with a set of paravanes. So it's a manual system at anchor for really maintaining stability. I think it's a really good idea, and again, one more time, a customization for the owner of the vessel. The 50 enjoys a very spacious, very thoughtful cockpit arrangement. There's seating for 8 people in this cockpit, and the table, of course, is very adjustable. All this, again, the owners have some input, but this really works really well. You'll notice that there's a solid hardtop that extends all the way past this table. We also have the capacity, for those that would like it, for us to create a solar array that acts as both a sun block as well as solar panels. So we can do that as well. But this arrangement works very, very well. Because these boats are built for global travel, the electrical system is a dual setup. We have 3 shore power connections here. The one we're using is a 30 amp, we have a 50 amp, but we also have a 50 hertz connection for plugging in Europe, and most of the world for that matter. You know, we've talked to the owner of this boatyard, and the thing he's the most proud of is the steel work that's done for this boat. All the aluminum work is done by a yard that only does commercial work, except for these boats. So they're really built to a much higher commercial standard, and you can really see that in certain places. The hinges that were built for this hatch are not something you buy off the shelf for the marine industry. They're custom built, so this thing closes perfectly. You get a chance to really see the quality of construction when you go into these large, cavities. Because we're looking right at the bottom of the boat. You'll see that there's an anode down there, a nice large anode that's recessed right into the hull. Again, these boats are quick. Remember, this is a 9-10 knot cruising boat with a top speed of 16 knots. So this hull shape has everything to do with that. But again, it's really nice to see just how large these spaces are. What's also nice is I think this would be an excellent dive boat, and there's so much space here that it's a perfect location for a dive compressor with connections right there on the swim platform. A very simple example to the nature of the construction quality on the vessel is this hatch drain that is solid aluminum, and it goes right below the water line. This locker located under the aft bench is also where you're going to find the breakers for shore power. In order to complete this exterior tour, it's of course impossible not to mention that this boat is 100% aluminum. The construction is very robust. Again, aluminum naturally oxidizes, so it's a very maintenance-friendly material. As you can see, the boat is built with huge rub rails, but in fact, it's the dock and other boats that have to be afraid of us. We plan to be at the boatyard this spring, and at that time, we're going to do a deep dive into aluminum boat construction. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you've enjoyed this. We have an awful lot more information to cover with you in the coming months, and we look forward to speaking to you then.